It's an immense pleasure for me to welcome you and greet you here in Geneva. To all of you that, first of all, to all of you who came from all over the place, of course from Switzerland, but also France, UK, Sweden, Norway, Algeria, Morocco, Jura, all over the world people are here today. And I want to also, before we start, to thank the organizers for the hard work, the dedication, and all of them are here. If you see them, thank them. They did a lot of work. Of course, I also want to thank the Sheikh Imran Hossein for the honor and his friendship, and to be here, of course, with us today. So, as we say in Switzerland, bienvenue, willkommen in Schweiz, bienvenue en Suisse, benvenuti in Svizzera, and as they say in France and in UK, merhaba. Jokes aside, the topic of today is very important. First, and I wanted to start to understand who you are. We are about 320 people, and I would like to ask, in this room, who is a Muslim? Okay, a majority of people. Who is Catholic? Okay. Protestant? Not so many. Orthodox? Okay. Jewish? No. Buddhist or other Eastern religions? Atheist? No religion at all? Or agnostic? Okay. So majority of Muslim. I want to ask because I believe it's very important, and it's sad that we don't have all the representation that are possible, because it's very important that we learn from each other, we discuss, and we learn to be open-minded and discuss between ourselves without the preconceptions that the media puts in our mind. So, what is the state of the world today? A few years back, when I started to realize that the world was not exactly as what I thought it was, yesterday evening at dinner we were asking what was the precise moment, and for me the precise moment I realized that something was wrong in the world was when Colin Powell showed at the United Nations his little tube full of something to justify war against Iraq. So it's about 10 years that I've been researching, and that's the material of my books, where we are today in reality. So if we take a step back, if you look at 10,000 or 12,000 years ago, in 10,000 before Christ, the population of the world was 5 million people. In the year 1, year 0 in our calendar, population was 300 million in the world. When Napoleon was defeated in 1815, it was 1 billion. So it took a lot of time to reach 1 billion people in the world. In 1920, we were already 2 billion. In 1970, we were 4. In 2000, we were 6. Today, in 2015, we're 7.3. United Nations estimate that in 2050, we will be 10 billion. All these people consume resources. We all consume resources. The poorest Africans or Indians want to consume the way Chinese do. Chinese want a house, not anymore a bicycle, but a car, a TV, and they want to consume like Japanese or Europeans do. The Europeans and the Japanese, they want to live like Americans. That means we consume resources at an increasingly high speed. Resources like oil, but of course minerals like copper, iron, aluminium, etc., etc. These resources are not infinite. They are limited. And therefore, the more we consume, the more there are people, the more we unreasonably consume them, the more they become scarce. The result also of consumption is pollution and destruction of the environment. Often we believe that we live in a non-religious world, but in reality it is a religious world. We live in the religion of progress. And it is believed that any progress is good. But how can we have progress and therefore grow? We cannot have infinite growth in a finite world. This is not news. This is something that in the 1970s was already realized. But of course, we did nothing about it. So this is an important element to remember, that we are in a world that is, whose resources are being depleted. Now let's take another element. Who rules the world today? In 1945, the United States of America was 50% of the world industrial output. Of course, it helps that the rest of the world was leveled. Now, the United States of America and its parent corporations, to keep dominating the world and keep this dominance, have based their strategy on two big elements. First of all, perpetual war, which makes us joke with the Sheikh that Pax Americana has not a lot of Pax and is not really very Americana. And the second element is, of course, the dollar as the world reserve currency. So the United States was actually lucky to have the Soviet Union as an opponent, because it could justify continuous war after the World War II. And Korea, Vietnam, all the wars in Latin America were extremely profitable for the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower denounced. And it was extremely valuable for the United States that the energy, which is mostly oil, could be bought with the dollar, and only with the dollar. The problem with war is that while it is profitable for a few industries and people, it is not extremely constructive and profitable for society. So the United States found itself in the late 1960s bankrupt. And this is why President Nixon in 1971 finished to decouple completely the dollar to the gold. And since 1971, the United States has been living exclusively on debt. Remember that the only money that is valuable in the world is gold and silver. The other big problem that the United States started to face in the 1970s is that since 1970 precisely, we are discovering every year less and less oil. We have reached the peak discovery of oil fields in 1970. And it is a coincidence, let's say, that the United States, the Carter and Brzezinski doctrine in the 1970s refocused the strategic goal for the United States with the redeployment in the middle of the Cold War, the redeployment of 3 armored divisions from Germany to the Middle East, which obviously were used in the Gulf War in 1991. The 1970s, and of course the realization that there was no more discoveries, no more new discoveries of oil, finished the process that started in 1930 to replace the United Kingdom to control the Middle East and, of course, Saudi, Iran. So war and oil and the dollar are the ways America controls the world. Unfortunately for them, after China and now Russia are back, because first of all, manufacturing from America has been outsourced into China. And so China became an industrial giant. And Russia is back as a military and an energy giant. And those two countries, Russia and China, are now allied and more economically integrated. The horror for maritime powers that were the UK and then the United States is to see a continental power. And what bigger continental power than Russia and China working economically and militarily together with Iran, with Brazil, with India, Venezuela, Ecuador, and many others. The United States and their owners are scared. They see that time is running against them. they cannot continue to keep their power in today's world. Every day, they're nearer and nearer an impossible bankruptcy. And yet their current power makes them incredibly corrupt. Because again, the military, industrial, and banking complex are not managed by free market. They are managed as a planned economy, as a socialist economy for the rich and for the powerful. And when you look in the street, you see millions of poor people. 44 million Americans do not have a house, do not live in a house. And that means the ideology, because I believe ideology is very important. The ideology of America is collapsing. And if the ideology collapses, if the economy is collapsing, if the country is in bankruptcy, if the military is decreasing, and the military capacity also is collapsing, what does it mean? It means that the biggest economy and the biggest military power in the world is entering chaos. And this means it's very dangerous. Because this is not the army of Zaire. Sorry for Zaire, but this is an army with 6,000 nuclear warheads. And I don't know you, but I don't like to have irrational people who are scared and irrational with 6,000 nuclear warheads. If the economy collapses in the United States, it means the economy collapses everywhere in the world. And such a collapse can have catastrophic consequences for people around the world, especially in the cities. Because we are relying on a very complex and efficient economy to get our food, our water, our medicine, our electricity, our transports. And when this is going to be missing, how are people going to react? In a world where people have been brainwashed, became stupid because of television, because of consumerism, because of immediate gratification for every one of their pulsions and needs. I don't think they're going to react very well. So the long crisis we're in can become a very short, brutal, acute crisis very fast.